Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, July 28th, 2015. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. Described as a huge public health problem, cervical cancer accounts for 275,000 deaths from the 530,000 persons who suffer from the disease globally. According to findings from the Human Papillomavirus HPV Prevalence and Vaccine Acceptability Survey, which was released and discussed this morning at the Methodist Church Hall, this country's fight against cancer is just as worrying. With cancer being the main cause of death nationally for more than half a decade, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health and the Environment, Louis Deschamps, says he is also concerned about the number of young persons getting cancer. A joint study conducted in SVG and St. Kitts and Nevis through the Pan American Health Organization PAHO from February to November 2014 investigated whether socio-demographic and lifestyle choices were factors in contracting the HPV virus, which significantly causes cervical cancer. According to Deschamps, there were 645 deaths from cancer from 2008 to 2013, and in 2013 there were 73 new cases diagnosed. Deschamps further outlined that after breast and colon cancer, cervical cancer is attributed to be the third leading cause of death. He said the human papillomavirus is a sexually transmitted infection that contributes to 90% of all cervical cancers.
Cancer has been the #1 cause of mortality here in this country for the last 5 years. Although we are making significant improvement in healthcare, we continue to fight against the non-communicable diseases that continue to place a significant burden on our health system. However, of the number of deaths reported from 2008 to 2013, 645 were as a consequence of cancer, and in 2013, 73 new cases of cancer were diagnosed. The age group affected is principally above 45 years, but we have been seeing an increase in the number of younger persons affected by the various types of cancer.
The Health Permanent Secretary says that cervical cancer is preventable and treatable, and that they are holding discussions to establish an HPV vaccine secondary prevention program and establish a cervical cancer prevention policy.
Colleagues, cervical cancer is the third type of cancer that our women are succumbing to after breast cancer and cancer of the colon. In 2013, approximately 13% of the deaths from cancer in women were attributed to cervical cancer. And this type of cancer is one of the world's deadliest forms of cancer among women. And although highly preventable and largely treatable, it remains a major life-threatening health problem in Latin America and in the Caribbean, where more than 83,000 women were diagnosed with this type of cancer, and almost 36,000 women died as a result of it in 2012.
And with figures showing as high as 80% of women contracting the sexually transmitted human papillomavirus at least once in their life, PS Deschamps is emphasizing the importance of screening and treatment.
And statistics show that 80% of females will contract HPV within their lifetime. The research further indicates, colleagues, that screening women for cervical precancer followed by treatment is a cost-effective intervention to prevent cervical cancer, and that approximately 70% of cancer cases could be avoided through HPV vaccination of adolescent girls. The identification of high-risk human papillomavirus types as a necessary cause of cervical cancer is therefore very important and necessary, as this type of information will offer the prospect of implementing effective primary prevention and the possibility of improving the efficiency of cervical screening programs.
Technical advisor of the Pan American Health Organization PAHO for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, Dr. Beryl Irons, says cervical cancer could be eliminated with the appropriate vaccination and calls for a more proactive approach from women when the vaccine becomes available.
It's the fact that we would love to see St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the next 5 to 10 years stating a different epidemiology, Mr. Pierce, than what was said this morning. We have the potential to eliminate cervical cancer. And since we have the potential, not only through vaccination, but also through the program of early detection and the program of prevention, there are no reasons in the world why we should not eliminate.
This country remains on the U.S. State Department's Tier 2 watch list in its 2015 Trafficking in Persons report. The report, released on Monday, states that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a source, transit, and destination country for men, women, and children subjected to forced labor and sex trafficking. It says NGOs and government officials report some adults pressure local children under the age of 18 to engage in sex acts with men in exchange for money or gifts, and that third-party prostitution of children under 18 is a form of human trafficking. The U.S. report also states that local officials and NGOs have also raised concerns about foreign women engaged in prostitution or foreign workers from South America and the Caribbean subjected to forced labor in or while transiting through the country. It also points out that men, women, and children are vulnerable to forced labor in the country, primarily in agriculture. According to the report, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines does not fully comply with the minimum standards for the elimination of trafficking. However, it is making significant efforts to do so, and that despite these measures, the government did not demonstrate overall increasing anti-trafficking efforts compared to the previous reporting period. Hence, the country remains on the Tier 2 watch list. The report recommends that St. Vincent and the Grenadines proactively identify and refer any suspected trafficking victims, particularly among vulnerable groups such as migrant workers, to appropriate care and services, promote a victim-centered approach to victim identification by involving NGOs or other victim advocates in the process, develop and adopt a national anti-trafficking plan, develop and disseminate a government-wide referral process for various types of suspected trafficking victims, and to vigorously prosecute and convict traffickers, among other measures. A young woman from a rural community here was recently saved by the local Human Trafficking in Persons Unit from potentially being scammed and or trafficked. While commenting on the recent Trafficking in Persons report issued by the United States government at a media conference today, Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves says in a report received on July 9th from the Trafficking in Persons Unit here, an incident was recorded where a young lady met a female on Facebook who purported to be a medical doctor and a member of the United States Navy based in the United Kingdom. Dr. Gonsalves explains that the professed doctor offered the young Vincentian woman a job as a nanny to care for her 2 daughters and also agreed to process her visa and work permit.
The young lady expressed an interest in the offer, and she later got an email from this so-called doctor outlining the fees to process the documents, which total $1,325 US. We have the breakdown. Fortunately, this young lady did the correct thing and informed her family about the offer, and they became suspicious. Especially her father. Her father became quite suspicious. They contacted the police, and we went to the trafficking unit, anti-trafficking in persons unit. The U.S. knows about this because the unit contacted the relevant person at the U.S. Embassy in Barbados with all the information, and this, the gentleman from the U.S. Embassy later replied and confirmed that this so-called doctor was a fake.
The Prime Minister says while SVG has systems in place to counteract the issue of human trafficking, persons must be careful when approached with offers by strangers, especially foreigners.
This is why our people have to be careful, and this is why any of these things just inform our police and our trafficking in persons unit. So when I'm not really concerned about the people who come in to look at us, like one or two individuals who may come down from the US, and sometimes they would listen to people here. You know, you have a person, understand the other day somebody from the opposition was saying that there's a woman who's being trafficked with Ecuador, and it turned out there was nothing like that. Remember, the lady who heads the unit, her superintendent, came on radio and told the press that was wrong. You know, you get gossip now and they try to make a story. But I'm not interested in all that. I'm interested in the cases where people are going to be scammed or where they may be trafficked. Please, just contact the police.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines is said to have been managing its debt situation. Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Dr. Rav Gonsalves told the media today that as at the end of March 2015, data show that SVG is performing creditably both in relation to the primary balance and the overall balance on the fiscal accounts.
And when you look at the extent of the debt levels as of March 2015, the end of March 2015, between March 2014, the end of March 2014 and the end of March 2015, you see that the debt for Antigua and Barbuda went up by $139.55 million. The debt for Dominica went up by $23.85 million. For Grenada, by $28.8 million. St. Lucia, $149.17 million. And for St. Vincent and Grenadines, $14.13 million. We moved from $1.515 billion to $1.529 billion, and you'll see the difference is $14.13 million.
Dr. Gonsalves says while the country's debt to GDP level is 77%, there is in place a medium-term debt strategy to have at least 60% the threshold before 2030. The Electoral Office has decided not to suspend registration in the 15 constituencies nationwide for the period August 3rd to September 4th, 2015, as was announced last Friday in the media release. In a follow-up release today, the office says registration will continue uninterrupted in the coming week and throughout the month of August, and that it will work simultaneously to prepare and publish the new voters list to make it available to the public for scrutiny. The new voters list is expected to be published in mid-August and will reflect the names of persons who are registered as voters between June 1st, 2005 and July 31st, 2015. The Electoral Office is urging new voters as well as individuals who are re-registering to make use of the services provided in the constituencies. On radio yesterday, leader of the opposition New Democratic Party, Annie Eustace, made it clear that he was not in support of having the registration of voters halted for the 4-week period, as first stipulated by the Electoral Office. He claimed that doing so would have been a disservice to the nation and to the electoral process. And at today's media conference, Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves says there is no need for anyone here to wage a war against the Supervisor of Elections and her office. Dr. Gonsalves says there is absolutely no need for the impression to be created that the country does not have a good electoral system. The Prime Minister also explains that though this week marks the end of the process for the over 23,000 persons in possession of the old identification card to justify why they should remain on the voters list, persons can still be registered.
You can come into August, go into September, whatever time before the election is called. And then you'll have, even when the election is called, a 15-day special registration period. But the earlier you do it, the registration, the much better, or your re-registration, as the case may be. I just want to say that I have full confidence in the supervisor of elections. The supervisor of elections and the staff, they have been doing a lot of work. They have been very open to the political parties to make suggestions. There's no need to have any war with the supervisor of elections or in her office. She's a woman of stuffed with integrity, and if there are problems, and if we want to highlight any deficiency, we can do so, and she would listen. Let us not create the impression that we don't have a good electoral system, or that there's any hanky-panky which is going on, because there's...
Dr. Gonsalves, however, admits that there is one bottleneck as they seek to address the voters' registration issue, which involves specifically persons acquiring new birth certificates.
You can register with your old birth certificate, you know, you don't have to get a new one if you have an old one, but a lot of people don't have the old birth certificates. They've lost them, misplaced them, whatever the case may be. And clearly, with thousands of people descending on the, potentially thousands, descending on the Department of Births and Deaths at the registry, they have to make sure that they have all the machinery in place to take care of the applicants who are coming for new birth certificates now, to assist them in the process of registration. And I spoke to the registrar about that difficulty, which some persons have said that they're having some when they go for their birth certificates, that it's not as fast as they would like it. And maybe, I don't know what other challenges there are, but I'm not dealing with the particular details. I just want to make sure that I inform the state, the office holders, that this matter should be.
The ruling Unity Labour Party caretaker for the East Kingston constituency, Luke Brown, has distanced himself from the application of red paint to the building earmarked as the office for the opposition New Democratic Party at Sion Hill. In a statement issued today, Brown made it clear he does not support such action, whether the perpetrators are supporters of the ULP or NDP. Brown says they are not concerned with political gimmicks and tricks, but are rather focused on making East Kingston a better place to ensure that the people of the constituency have the representation they deserve in Parliament. Fast Cash has expanded its services to the Grenadine island of Bequia in an effort to better cater to the needs of persons there. The opening ceremony of the Bequia branch took place yesterday. SVG-TV's Galen Burnett was there and files this report.
Performing the blessings, Father Jonathan Weeks, director of St. Mary's Anglican Church in Bequia, told the operators of the company to be aware of persons who live above their means and advised those persons at the event to avoid practicing this unhealthy lifestyle. Father Weeks further encouraged the operators to provide honest, reliable service and not to forget to give back to the community.
God has endowed each one of us with at least one talent to use for personal benefit and also to help those who are in need. There are people who are going to come and ask, I like the kind of protective measures that you have in place here, and I hope you stick to them, because we have too many people in our society today who like to live above their means, and so they find themselves in all kinds of unnecessary debt. And the scripture reminds us, the only debt we should find ourselves in is to owe each other honor.
Country manager of Fast Cash, SVG, Kevin Jessame, says that after many complaints, questions, and requests, the company is proud to finally be able to bring their business to Bequia.
It is indeed a great honor
to be standing here today, almost a year after we moved to our new top-of-the-line facility on mainland St. Vincent. Now, standing on the island of Bequia here today is a tremendous joy to officially launch and announce the opening of our branch in your beautiful island of Bequia. Over the past year, we've been listening to your complaints from Bequia of not having the ability to obtain small, medium, and large loans, or having to travel to mainland St. Vincent to undergo the difficulty of getting a loan. Today, your questions, your concerns have been answered. We are pleased to announce that your complaints have all been answered by none other than Fast Cash St. Vincent and to the extension Fast Cash Caribbean.
He also introduced Bequia to the first ever Fast Cash app in the region, which he says is a great way of reaching customers.
Not only have we answered all your questions, but we've gone a step further. And this afternoon we want to introduce what we call our very own mobile Fast Cash app for Bequia. And this app will allow the processing of your loans to be done directly from your place of work. So yes, no longer will you have to come to the office, but we can come to your place of work and process your loan. Or for even on the taxi stand for those taxi members present this afternoon. That's right, you heard me absolutely correct. We boast our ever-changing consumer loans for employed persons, our taxi and values of up to $5,000 for maintenance, servicing, insurance payments, or really anything concerning the vehicle.
Area representative of the Northern Grenadines, Honorable Dr. Godwin Friday, welcomed Fast Cash to Bequia, stating that he is always pleased when mainland businesses seize the potential in the Grenadines, and says to the business operators that in order to ensure their prosperity, they must focus on delivering excellent service at all times and to work on developing trust between their clients.
We are still fairly risk-averse. We are still very skeptical and suspicious of financial institutions. Banks, as you well know, are still among the lawyers, perhaps, and politicians, some of the least favored institutions in our community, even though they provide very useful services, and even though lawyers and politicians also provide very useful services. Which is to say that the relationship of trust is one that would require effort on your part, and of course earning it from the customers and effort on their part, which comes back to my original statement that it requires for you to focus on the service that you provide, on the customer as really somebody who is to be treasured and not just someone of whom you can get, a fast dollar.
CEO of Fast Cash Caribbean, Michelle Williams, says there are many benefits to be had from this venture in Bequia for both the company and the customers.
The complaint and the demand has always been, if they could access it on the island of Bequia, it would have been, a lot easier, much more efficient for them, rather than going back and forth. But once we went through with the introduction of our mobile application, it became a lot easier to be able to offer the service on Bequia. And so here we are today after having tested and showing that it actually works on the island.
The first customer of Fast Cash Bequia, Vernon May Oliver, expressed her delight in the expansion and urged other residents and those on the Grenadine Islands to take advantage of the business venture.
People of Bequia have been hearing about for the last couple of years. The opportunity was open to Bequia people, but it was difficult because of the process of having your loans done. It will take you maybe 2 days to get your loans done from St. Vincent. When I heard that it was coming to Bequia, I thought that it would be a great opportunity to experience what it's like, so I can tell people about it. Loans are something that persons always need, you know. And I want to say thanks to Fast Cash for coming to Beckwith and giving the people of Beckwith this opportunity. They can, because it's a lot shorter process than if you go to the banks or even to the credit unions. It's something that you can activate, you can have done like in less than 24 hours. So persons that has like an emergency or something and they need to have a little like snapshot, this is something that they can.
Reporting for SVG-TV News, I am Gillian Burnett.
Overwhelmed by the show of love and appreciation, tears began to flow from Advira Jack as she celebrated her 100th birthday earlier today with friends and family. The resident at the Garden of Eden Nursing Home here at Dorsetshire Hill was also visited on the special occasion by Governor General Sir Frederick Ballantyne and Minister of National Mobilization Frederick Stevenson, who presented her with gift baskets and cards. Sir Frederick expressed gratitude to the centenarian for her contribution to nation building and thanked those around her for the care shown.
Personal congratulations to Mrs. Finch on having got to this great milestone of 100 years. I'd like to thank her for her contribution to the country. I think years ago, much more then than now, those people of Mrs. Finch's age labored hard to build this country, and we, the younger people, or you, the younger people, are reaping the benefits of their hard work. I always say how very much I appreciate the care that's taken of the old people, and I think we live well and survive because of the personal care and attention given, and that care and attention come not only from their family but from Ms. Thompson and other members of your staff here. We thank you very much. I also bring special congratulations and a card from Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, who would like to say how happy she is and to congratulate Ms. Finch on attaining this great milestone. We hope you live to see many, many more, and may God bless you.
Minister of National Mobilization Frederick Stevenson also congratulated Jack on her 100th birthday. Stevenson, who also holds responsibility for social development, highlighted the importance of appreciating the elderly.
A cricketer scores 100 runs. Everyone in the crowd applauds, and it makes the batsman feels very good. An individual living for 100 years is a very significant achievement, especially when most of all the faculties are intact. And I see Miss Finch is nodding her head, so that means she's hearing me. She looked at me and she's smiling, so that means that everything is working well for her. Thanks be to God. And may God continue to bless you and bless your family and those who take care of you at this home. Thank you very much. I love you, and God loves you. Thank you.
Family and friends also took the opportunity to share their appreciation to Jack as they wished her happy birthday.
Today, to wish you a happy birthday. It's really a pleasure, and we thank God for bringing you to this milestone. And your blessing that you have done to each and every one of us when you were young, that's why you're living this length of time. So may God continue to bless you. And happy birthday from Sean and Siren and all the others.
Tanti baby, well, my tanti. I've known her for my life. I grew up with her. She was the one who actually, when my parents wasn't around, to take care of me.
And this is my aunt, my mother's sister. And she always there for me in every step of the way. So I wish you, Tanti, a very happy birthday. May the good Lord bless you and keep you.
And this young lady is my mother-in-law. Wish I take care of her. And Mr. Jack, I wish you a happy birthday. And your granddaughter said she loves Sister, she cannot make it today. But he said God's love with you.
And I'm happy to be here. And Mrs. Jack, she was our neighbor. And my brother married to his daughter. And my wife send her regards to you now, mother, because she went to Venezuela to get she eye fixed and everything like that. So I wish you all the best. And pray God will see you through many other days. So may God bless you and have a nice birthday.
I was living in the same place where Miss Jack living. All of us grew up. We was living above and she was living below us. And anytime we could pass in and out and we get something to eat and drink in every home in Debo. So this lady, I wish her a happy birthday and I wish she lived to see a few more years with us. And may God bless you, Mrs. Jack.
And Miss Jack was I could say my neighbor. I grew up around her and she was a very nice lady to all of us. So I wish her happy birthday, 100-year birthday today, and hope she will live to see many and many more birthdays to come.
Thank you everyone for coming.
All right.